All right, welcome. Today we're going to break down this really fascinating case study where a simple corporate cricket match turns into, believe it or not, a masterclass in leadership failure. We're going to see just how a team with all the talent, all the right pieces, and even a perfect plan can still manage to lose, and lose spectacularly, when the leadership just completely falls apart. So, our story really kicks off with a senior bowler, right? A real veteran of his company's team. And after this huge, career-threatening injury, he absolutely fought his way back. He was driven by this powerful determination to prove, not just to others, but to himself, that he could still hang and contribute at the very top. And this is where it gets interesting. You have this incredible personal triumph, this amazing story of resilience, and it's about to slam head-on into a catastrophic team failure. It's right there, in that collision, where we find the most powerful lessons. So let's really set the stage here. We're going to look at this incredible comeback of our main guy, and at the same time, the crisis that was just quietly brewing right under the surface. I mean, just look at this timeline for a second. This is not just someone who decided to show up and play. We're talking about a multi-year journey of discipline, focused recovery, and training. His return was a massive testament to his resilience, and it positioned him not just as another player, but as a key mentor with a ton of experience. Now, you'd think they were set up for success, right? Heading into the big tournament, this team didn't just have raw talent. They had a super clear, collaborative plan that was designed by everyone, for everyone. And the strategy itself was simple, but it was smart. The idea was to mix the experienced players with the younger, more aggressive batsmen. And for the bowling attack, they had a rotation system all planned out to maximize the impact of their best players. And here's the most important part. Everyone, including the young Captain Kiran, totally agreed to this plan. This is exactly what good teams do, right? They distribute the leadership, sharing the responsibility based on who has the expertise. The plan was totally sound. But as we're about to see, the failure wasn't in the strategy at all. It was all in the execution. All right, let's dive into the match itself. This is where things start to go off the rails. Let's watch, step by step, how this so-called perfect plan completely unraveled right there on the field. And wow, this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? The plan called for a balanced batting order. What happened? The captain opened with his friend. The plan called for strategic bowling rotations. What happened? He just gave the ball to guys in his social circle. From the very first ball, that strategy they all agreed on was just thrown right out the window. And you know, this wasn't just a one-off mistake. It became a clear pattern. The captain consistently promoted his friends, leaving the really experienced players just sitting on the sidelines. And this created what the study calls a psychological vacuum, which is a fancy way of saying the senior players went from being pumped and ready to perform to just passively anxious. Now, if you want to see the catastrophic result of these choices, look at this number. 10. That's 10 wide deliveries in a single over. A fatigued player who was only out there because he was the captain's friend was kept on to bowl and did this. I mean, that's an absolute meltdown, just gifting the other team free runs and all the momentum. So in the end, it's no surprise they lost, even though they'd put up a pretty competitive score. But here's the real kicker. They lost a game they absolutely should have won. The talent was there, the strategy was there. But the leadership completely failed to include the very people who could have sealed the victory. So the big question is, why? Why did this all happen? Let's get into it and really break down the anatomy of this leadership failure. At the heart of this whole mess is this concept right here, in-group favoritism. It's a classic leadership bias. The captain consistently, and maybe even unconsciously, prioritized his friends over the most competent players for the job. It's a surefire way to kill team trust and performance. So what's the consequence of that? You get this, a psychologically unsafe environment. The senior players, who were technically part of the team but socially outside the captain's inner circle, they had no idea what their role was. So what did they do? They disengaged. They became passive observers instead of the active contributors they were supposed to be. Oh man, this slide just perfectly captures the disconnect, the hypocrisy of it all. The team's espoused theory, what they said they would do, was to use a balanced team strategy. But the captain's theory in use, what he actually did, was, I'm going to pick my friends. They had agreement, but they had zero actual alignment when the pressure was on. Okay, so enough about the problem. How do we actually fix this? Let's pivot to the solutions. What's so great about this case study is that it gives us a clear playbook to stop this kind of failure from happening on our own teams. And the study lays out these really clear, actionable recommendations for everyone. The captain, he needs to learn to delegate based on competence, not friendship. The senior players, they need to be empowered to speak up and intervene. And the team as a whole, they have to move from just talking about a plan to actually writing it down and holding each other accountable. These are such practical frameworks that any team can use. Formalize your strategy, literally write it down. Create specific roles, like a tactical advisor. Use rules to take the bias out of your decisions. And maybe most importantly, build in ways for people to give feedback in real time and to review what went wrong afterwards. It's all about building accountability right into your team's DNA. And this really gets to the core of it all. True leadership is not about hoarding control. It's about having the wisdom, just like the slide says, to empower the people who are actually best equipped to get the job done. It's about putting the team's success way above your own personal loyalties or ego. And that leaves us with a really powerful question to take back and reflect on with our own teams. Who holds the formal title of leader? And who holds the actual wisdom and experience? The ultimate goal, right, is to make sure those two things are always working together.